This is for people that enjoy language. This is something that I find quite extraordinary. I don't study it that much, but it sort of comes across my plate every now and then, different words. People that enjoy language, they're people that have made it their passion, their objective in life to dismantle the notion of what a word might be. A word by what a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. What is a word? What is a letter? What makes up in our mind a word? Words are important. Words are important because they create thoughts. Words in themselves are just like money. They're just based on what we agree on. It's like a confidence thing. A confidence in a concept, in an idea. So what are words? For example, something like I refer to in our culture, which is based on death, has been for 6,000 years. It's a culture that glorifies death and promotes the idea of death on every level, whether it's in high-minded art or whether it's in low-grunt military activity. Death is always a central issue. Whether it's if you go into religious times and you have the guy on a stick, nailed to a stick, tortured to death, or whether it's history is mainly the recorded battles that have occurred for the last 6,000 years. That's history. Most of history has been an ongoing war. Anyway, our culture of death loves words. And one of them is the word insane. You are insane. Now, whoever came up with that idea? To be sane and insane is fabulous. How about outsane? You're outsane. You are totally outsane. Why would we accept the word insane as something that would reflect our dysfunction? Quite the opposite. If you are insane or in sync, you are actually functioning within a level of what is wholesome, what contributes to our well-being. So I just thought whoever convinced us that insane, which is like in our mind, what happens is the anomalies that the culture of death is able to create makes us function dysfunctional because words that should mean one thing actually mean another. And I was thinking about painting. And in a sense, what I feel I'm doing is I'm taking the pain out of painting. And quite literally, I think that, I've gone on about this in my videos about it's not what it is you're looking at, but it's how you make something. And to be able to do something in an elegant format, it's like a feeling of ease. It doesn't mean you don't have to work on something, but it literally, in terms of for the observer anyway, I take the pain out of painting because there isn't a preoccupation with this is so difficult to do. It's actually quite beautiful and elegant. And if I look at a person's art, and I don't think about how difficult it was to make something, but I am involved in it from the point of view that it has, like I say, this elegance about it, this beauty, this elegance. This is why we are attached to beauty, because it suggests this ease, to take the pain out of painting. And I really quite would like to put the art back into earth. The earth without the art, what have you got? You don't have, this is interesting. I mean, these are words and they make sense to me. And I'm listening, not a lot, but on a sort of regular basis, I go onto people's sites and I listen to people, especially somebody like Dana Durnford, who has revealed physically on the ground evidence that the ocean is dying. And irretrievably, it has passed a point of return. This is quite clear based on his evidence, having gone on the water. What I say, he is the spirit on the water. And people don't really understand this reference because I am somewhat aware and familiar with biblical scripture, and you have the spirit over the water in very early biblical texts in Genesis. So I think there is quite a significant reference, the way I perceive this person, to have accomplished something that no one else has actually attempted to do in the way that he has. And he has clearly understood the threat we're under. Now, my own contribution And people that have been watching me realize that I'm a painter, so I make paintings. And one of the drawbacks in our culture of death is that if you resist the notion that the world is not what it appears to be, even though art is all about that notion, that the world is not what it appears to be. There are subtleties in poetry and music. There are suggestions rather than pure statements, which brings me to the idea that how does one become effective? How do you and I become effective? Having an understanding of the world is not what it appears to be. Maybe not in all the specifics of it, but we know we are being undermined. Our very biology is being undermined through vaccinations, through manipulations, genetic manipulations, the GMOs, and also the manipulation of our DNA to transfer DNA from one life form to another life form is actually beginning to unravel the experience that we understand to be the basic fundamental nature that we are a part of, to undermine that in the name of technology, which is a farce. Technology from the point of view of well-being is a ruse, is not what it appears to be. People walking around with your stupid iPhones on your ear or in front of you all the time is part of this ruse. This way of getting people on their side. Stop the goddamn iPhone thing. Put it away. Communicate directly in some form. Don't do it. It's just part of the scheme. It's not like making you connected. It's opening you up to their way of seeing the world. Their worldview is imposed on us. So my point in this little dissertation about how words mean something, to be insane is ridiculous, because if you're insane, this again, obviously people who are deemed insane are probably the sane ones because they're in the state of sanity. And my comment now, I'll just wrap it up here, what my thoughts are when I listen to people who have an insight into the world not being what it appears to be. They have their own strength and worldview and passion. And they bludgeon us, unfortunately, with the information. And I've always said I'm not an information person, although I recognize the importance of being informed. But informed obviously does not create necessarily a change in us. Just because we know about something doesn't mean we're going to accept it on a fundamental level to change our worldview. Now, one would say if you know one thing to be wrong, and you continue to do the same thing as Einstein said, you are outsane. You're totally outsane. If you do the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, you're outsane. But this is the idea of information. What I've recognized, information does not change me. It's something that happens on a level, and here's the subtlety that I believe that people, that colleagues, that artists have been able to accomplish in the general population, maybe not in a sort of dramatic form, but it filters through the idea of words in a poem or a song, musical lines, musical feelings being transmitted, infiltrating our nature, our being, softening us up in a sense, softening us up. We've lost the subtlety, the bludgeoning. People are susceptible to, for example, the attack dogs who insult, who try to viciously take down with lies and whatever. We are susceptible to that because we lack the subtlety of distinguishing. We are no longer capable. We receive these emotions upon us, we take them, internalize them, and it creates problems internally, and we've lost this subtlety. This is the importance of art. It actually begins in some form to develop in a person subtle ways of feeling, not just thinking, but feeling, like to be sensitive to something, to be sensitive to a color combination, or to be inspired by some form that has not occurred to you. Doesn't mean it hasn't been done many times over, but it hasn't occurred to you. So in order to produce something of value, and I'm speaking as a painter, that somewhere along the line, what I've understood isn't to bludgeon you with the information, but to seduce you into the subtleties of your own feelings, through my own awareness, what it is that I've learned. And I can have an extensive, like many of the artists that I look at are quite incredibly informed and well read on many different topics and subjects, but you don't see it reflected in the art directly. It is influenced in the art, but they have their own way of creating this sort of, what is that? That subtlety, that seductive quality, This is something that everybody that wants to propagate and promote an idea about this function, that the world is not what it appears to be. You cannot bludgeon people with the information. It needs to come through a very strong but seductive format. This is what I've understood, because I myself am not amused by being abused. I am not amused. And I want to take the pain out of painting. My objective is to actually make a painting that does not make you feel the pain, although I am not a soft sell. I am in there with both feet, with my understanding of what we're up against. So my point is that people who understand words, and I just mentioned a couple of them, how beautiful words can actually be and reveal to us the nature of the world not being what appears to be. And artists in the past, like Shakespeare, or rose by any other name would smell as sweet, they figured it out and they passed it on in a way that we can incorporate it in subtle ways, in ways that allow somehow our feelings, our spirit to absorb it. Not by telling you what an asshole and stupid idiot you are. That doesn't work. It doesn't work. It has never worked. It will never work. It will never work, which is why I believe the highest form of communication is art. And art, maybe not in the way that the military-industrial complex expresses itself in its depth and understanding of control and manipulation. There's a much deeper level of control. And unfortunately, we're losing it with all the goddamn iPads and iPhones in front of people's faces. Because once you've accomplished that, there is no more subtlety in life. The subtlety is gone. So I hope that makes sense. And the people I just respect on the information side of things, because they are actually passionate on the ground with both feet, like Dana Durnford, who has done the research, or somebody like Kevin Annett, who has created what I say a platform, and a person like Cindy K. Courier. You've got to check these people out. They have an insight into how it is that the dysfunction is actually considered to be, which is insane, but is actually outsane. The Kevin Annetts, the Cindy K. Couriers, the Durnfords are fabulous people because they're on the ground in some way. They have accomplished that challenge in their lives. Anyway, I hope that makes sense. As I end, YouTube, friends, foes on YouTube.